Have you ever questioned the nature of your reality?
Welcome back to my channel. Welcome to my channel if this is your first time. This is something I've been longing to do for a long time, and it's the first of 26 videos I'm going to be doing where I'm going to be looking at all 156 episodes of the original series of The Twilight Zone. So The Twilight Zone is an extremely important thing to me. It was fundamental in catapulting my interest in science fiction, fantasy, horror, speculative fiction. I don't think there's anything like it. It's obviously iconic and famous for all the right reasons, but as on a personal basis, it's kind of carried me through my whole life, like different ways that it's interacted with me in a literal sense, from the series to the writers that have written for it, to other things that have been very Twilight Zone-esque in films and TV shows. The way that it's just given me a particular outlook on life and some of the life lessons you get from it. And I just think it's just absolutely phenomenal and really, really important, really important. So I'm really pleased to start this series of videos where I'm going to be taking 6 episodes at a time. And that's why I know there's going to be 26 videos. I'm going to take 6 episodes at a time, and I'm going to talk about those episodes, what I think about them, what happens in them, and any little extra bits I can say about them. So, these first 6 episodes are all written by Rod Serling. So Rod Serling created the show. He was a very successful TV playwright. So he wrote teleplays for television and got awards for a really important one. He wrote about a boxer called Requiem for a Heavyweight, and he was given this green light to do this special series that he felt really passionate about, and he is basically the man behind the entire series and wrote most of the episodes, but he wrote all of these first 6 episodes. He also narrated it, and the narration is just absolutely phenomenal. And as the series goes on, you get this iconic figure of Rod Serling on screen doing introductions rather than off screen as a narration in these first 6 episodes. So as it goes on, you'll eventually find him on screen doing it, and that's a very famous image. So these are absolutely from the mind, imagination, and moral compass, if you like, of Rod Serling, and they are fascinating episodes. All 6 of them are really cool. Rod Serling felt really passionately about writing for TV. He wanted TV quality to be really good. They are plays. I mean, the acting is phenomenal in these episodes. I really do think they're very, very special moments of television, because the direction and the production design and the acting and obviously the writing is just so top notch. And you watch other things of the same kind of period, and it just doesn't have the same professionalism or the same impact, the same power to it. And the central performances especially are just so strong in these episodes, and in most episodes that I can think of, probably all the episodes I can think of The Twilight Zone. That's one of the things I think that sets it above. It's not just the writing, but the acting in them. And eventually we're going to get to William Shatner, and that's further on in the series, and he acts really well in the series. So anyway, the first 6 episodes. The first one I'm going to look at is the pilot, which is called Where Is Everybody? So as I said, I'm going to read out the initial narrations for all these episodes. There's 2 narrations for each episode. There's one at the beginning and there's one at the end, but I won't read the one at the end because it will spoil the episode. So, Where Is Everybody? The first episode starts with this. The place is here, the time is now, and the journey into the shadows that we're about to watch could be our journey. And it's quite interesting that Rod Serling got this idea because he went into a movie theater once that was all empty, and just struck him how powerful it would be to have an episode where there's a man who doesn't remember who he is and doesn't understand why there's nobody around, and he kind of uses that to then create this story out of it. And Earl Holliman, who plays the main character, who is lost, doesn't know who he is, and he doesn't understand why there's nobody about. And there's several things that happen that makes him think there's going to be someone around, but there isn't anyone around, and he slowly goes a bit mad. I won't tell you what the conclusion, the twist, or the ending is, but it's a great episode. It's a great way to introduce the Twilight Zone and say, right, there we go, that's the Twilight Zone. But Earl Holliman, who plays the main character, is so good, and I think the episode's got incredible atmosphere. There's a real poise and this sort of building tension to the way it's done. So I do think it's a fantastic start to the series. So Where Is Everybody is a great pilot. And then the next one on the Blu-ray is One for the Angels. And One for the Angels is my favourite one out of the 6. I watched it with my son, and I said at the end of it, I said to him, that was really powerful. and I kind of almost teared up at the end. For that to happen with a very short kind of 20-25 minute story from 1959 with a very fantastical story and a kind of a light tone to it, and Ed Wynn in the central character, it just shows you what great writing it was. But also, Ed Wynn did a fantastic performance. Okay, so the second episode, One for the Angels, starts with this. Street scene, summer, the present. Man on a sidewalk named Lou Bookman, age 60-ish. Occupation, pitchman. Lou Bookman, a fixture of the summer, a rather minor component to a hot July, a nondescript, commonplace little man whose life is a treadmill built out of sidewalks. And in just a moment, Lou Bookman will have to concern himself with survival, because as of 3 o'clock this hot July afternoon, he'll be stalked by Mr. Death. He played a toy pitcher, so someone who pitches sales on the street with this little box of toys that he's got, and he's selling them to the kids. And he's got this real sort of long-term relationship with the kids in the neighborhood. They all know who he is, and he's like an uncle figure to them. And that's kind of central to the story. But then he gets visited by Death, and Death says it's his time. And he's not ready to go, as you would expect. And he makes a deal with Death. And that deal then has a very serious consequence that he tries to retcon, if you like, and it all gets a bit upsetting, if you like. And then the kind of the home stretch in the story, when the kind of finale starts happening, it's so brilliant and it's so powerful, and it's just a beautiful episode. It really is. And it's kind of deceptive in the way that because it's Ed Wynn, who was in Mary Poppins, and I'm sure you know who Ed Wynn is, and there's this light tone to his performance at the beginning. It gets more serious as it goes along, and its sensitivity and the impact of the story is something you're not really expecting. So it's absolutely brilliant story about connection, about purpose, and about quality of life. And why are you here? What's your meaning of life? For him, it was making a difference to the kids. And absolutely amazing story. The third one, again, all of these are written by Rod Serling at the beginning. The third one was Mr. Denton on Doomsday. Okay, so Mr. Denton on Doomsday starts with this. Portrait of a town drunk named Al Denton. This is a man who's begun his dying early, a long, agonizing route through a maze of bottles. Al Denton, who would probably give an arm or a part of his soul to have another chance, to be able to rise up and shake the dirt from his body and the bad dreams that infest his consciousness. In the parlance of the times, this is a peddler, a rather fanciful-looking little man in a black frock coat. And this is the third principal character of our story. Its function, perhaps to give Mr. Al Denton his second chance. And this was awesome. This was a Western story, so it was kind of like a classic gunslinger story, and this featured a young Martin Landau, actually. He played the sort of bully at the beginning of the story. But it's got this fantastic performance at the central part of it. Dan DeRia was playing the central washed out gunslinger who was now just a drunk and a bit of a joke to the town. But they knew he had this history of being a great gunslinger. And he used to be kind of the people used to come to the town and basically say, "Oh, I'm going to be faster than you," and challenge him to a gunfight. And that was like the past, and now he's sort of gone past all that, and he's just drinking. So basically, he's got a chance thanks to the Twilight Zone and thanks to this guy, this mysterious guy called Henry Fate, I think his name is, and he is offering him an elixir to kind of help him out of the situation that he gets into, and that gives him kind of a way out, but you're not really sure what's going to happen. It's got fantastic tension to it, so it's like a very typical storyline with this gunslinger, but what it does with it is really cool. So it's very compelling, and and a lot of it's down to this central performance by Dan DeRia, and yeah, absolutely brilliant and really, really powerful. Again, it's just great writing. It's like Rod Serling really knows how to put this really deep stuff in there about regret or about going off the wrong course of life, or characters. So many times in these stories, the characters feel like they're stuck in a rut and they've created this life for themselves they can't get out of. So he's very good at doing that. So that was that one. And then the next one is the 16mm shrine. Okay, the 16mm shrine starts with this. Picture of a woman looking at a picture. Movie great of another time, once brilliant star in a firmament no longer a part of the sky, eclipsed by the movement of earth and time. Barbara Jean Trenton, whose world is a projection room, whose dreams are made out of celluloid. Barbara Jean Trenton, struck down by hit-and-run years and lying on the unhappy pavement, trying desperately to get the license number of fleeting fame. And this has two central performances in them. There's Ida Lupino and Martin Balsam, two famous actors, although I don't know how famous Martin Balsam was at the time, but I think Ida Lupino had already been famous. And she's playing an aging actress who's completely living in the past. So she spends all her days watching her old films and basically reliving those films over and over again. And she's not able to cope with present day and the fact that she's not who she was. And it just, it starts with that premise and then moves on from there in a really nice way. It's really well written, as always. I would say this one is the weakest out of the six because I think in 1959 it would have been less predictable and people would have been shocked by the ending. But I think now it's that kind of plot and that kind of twist has been used so many times, possibly because of the influence of this episode, I'm not sure, but because you've seen it so many times, I don't think it's quite as unpredictable as it would have been. So I think over time that's weakened this one a little bit, but it's a great episode, and I don't think you can criticize it for not being unpredictable in 2024 when it would have been more unpredictable in 1959. So great performances though, and I think it's still a strong episode, but I think it's weaker than some of these other ones. So the next one was Walking Distance. And Walking Distance starts with this. Martin Sloan, age 36, occupation, Vice President ad agency, in charge of media. This is not just a Sunday drive for Martin Sloan. He perhaps doesn't know it at the time, but it's an exodus. Somewhere up the road he's looking for sanity, and somewhere up the road he'll find something else. And Walking Distance is about an obnoxious, successful, rich man who stops at a gas station realizes that he's only a mile and a half away from where he grew up. So he decides to walk to this town where he grew up, because he literally says, that looks like walking distance. And the guy at the gas station says, yeah, that's walking distance, not very far at all. So he walks down there. But as he gets there, he slowly realizes that he's actually gone to the past as well. So he basically revisits his young days. And it's a really, really good script. It's really powerful. It talks about his own feelings about how his life is now and how his life was then. There's a really fantastic scene at the end with him and his father. That's really good. The acting is really good. And funnily enough, there's a little small part made by somebody called Ronnie Howard. So clearly that's Ron Howard, this little boy, Ron Howard, because he was acting at a very young age, Ron Howard. So yeah, he features in it as well. But it's a really good, beautiful, reflective episode that works really, really well. And then the last one I want to talk about is Escape Clause. Okay, so this is the beginning narration for Escape Clause. You're about to meet a hypochondriac. Witness Mr. Walter Bedecker, age 44, afraid of the following: death, disease, other people, germs, drafts, and everything else. He's one interest in life, and that's Walter Bedecker. One preoccupation: the life and well-being of Walter Bedecker. One abiding concern about society: what if Walter Bedecker should die? How will it survive without him? And Escape Clause is another great one. It's one of the best ones out of 6, I'd say. And it's a kind of a classic Twilight Zone premise where there's a man who's in bed, he's ill, it doesn't look very good. He gets visited by the devil, who strikes a deal with him. He says, look, if you want to live forever, I can make that happen. I can give you immortality. I just have to have your soul. And he agrees to it. And then he also says, there's also the escape clause. And he's like, what's this? And it's like, okay, well, assuming that you don't like immortality, you can call on the escape clause, which is in this contract. And if you call on this escape clause, I will allow you to die. And the guy's like, well, clearly that's not going to happen because I'm going to love immortality and it's great. And I won't tell you what happens because you want to see the episode, but it's got a great conclusion, and it's just one of the real memorable ones. And again, it's got fantastic, amazing performance at the center of it by David Wayne. He's brilliant as the main guy, and I think he might be a comedic actor or something. I don't know him outside of that episode, but he's got this sort of light tone to him because when he does become immortal, there's a very stylized way that he acts that is someone who has lost all his empathy, all his emotional intelligence, and his patience, and that's kind of created this particular kind of new person, the sort of post immortality, if you like. So that's done really well. So yeah, another great episode. Slightly lighter tone to that one, but yeah, 6 really good episodes to start off with. I couldn't recommend this series enough. As I've been saying, it's very iconic and famous, but I think if you watch them now, they've still got the same power and impact they did have then because the acting is so strong, the writing is so strong, and yeah, it's just fantastic. Really, really brilliant. So there we go. First 6 episodes, The Twilight Zone. I'm going through all 156 episodes. So this is the first of 26 videos. Please comment below if you know these episodes or you have other favourites. I'm clearly going to get to them all. But thanks a lot for watching, everybody. And stay curious. Bye.
Picture of what it's like to be you. You sit up on your high chair on the stars are looking